Hi, and welcome to the Stock Scores Market Minutes for August 15th, 2016. Let's talk about when trades don't make sense. Often trades appear to us, and they don't seem to make any sense when you think about the logic of it. It just doesn't seem to be the right thing to do. You may have a stock that has already gone up considerably, and yet it's giving another buy signal. Or perhaps a stock that is in the news with an absolutely terrible story, and yet it is going up and again giving some sort of buy signal. There's also times when you've got this great winning stock that everyone loves, and yet the market is moving lower and the market activity is telling you to sell. Let me tell you something. Never trust people's words more than the market action. Trust the market action. It represents what people are actually doing with their money, and you will never know the reason until it is too late. So I have learned the hard way to trust the market action. Now, I have to say, I still make this mistake. For example, today, this was a stock that came up. Now, this stock I've been trading quite a lot lately, and it was, $35 a month ago. Today, it gapped up to $85 and gave a little buy signal here as a day trade at, I can't remember, $88, $89. And I thought, you know what? It's had a huge gap. It's already made a big run. This is just too risky. This doesn't make any sense to me. And I didn't take a trade that met my rules. And yet the stock continued higher through the day. And for a day trade, it was a nice winner. All right, let's get into this week's action. S&P 500 short-term chart, 30-day, 60-minute chart. You can see rising bottoms. That means the buyers are in control. We had a little bit of weakness there on Friday. We also had some weakness there on Wednesday. But the bottoms are rising over time. That means the buyers are in control, an optimistic chart. On the weekly chart, going back 3 years, certainly the momentum and the amount of action is slowing. The range that we're seeing each week is quite narrow, but the buyers are in control, rising bottoms, and you can't argue with that. On the small cap side, we've got an upward trend intact. Again, volatility and volume very low this week. So it's not exactly exciting market to trade, but the buyers are winning the war. And until we get a break of trend, we have to stay optimistic. On the TSX, we had a pretty good bounce back here with the bounce back in oil. Some of that gave back on Friday. We see a little break of trend there, a little break through that bottom. And so that's a bit of a concern. I think it's still an optimistic chart with the general trend being up. But Friday's action makes me want to be a little bit cautious. But again, look at the volume. It was so quiet on Friday. I don't know that you can read a lot into the market action. On the longer term chart for the week, it broke out to new highs, local highs for the week and for the year. And it looks to me like it wants to continue up towards that longer term resistance. So that is longer term, a bullish chart. TSX Venture remains in that strong long-term upward trend. It has gone a little bit parabolic to the upside. That means it's due for some profit taking. And basically on Thursday and Friday, we started to see some of that. Wouldn't surprise me if we see more of a pullback next week on the TSX Venture stocks. Treasury bonds, of course, tells us where interest rates are going to go. We are in an upward trend. We're in a flag right now. One of the things that I always talk about is where is price relative to the trend line? Well, there's the trend line. We ran up and away from the trend line. Now we're pulling back to the trend line, and I think we could see a few more pullback days to get to that trend line. But this is a flag pattern, and if you get a break to the upside from the flag pattern, that means prices are headed higher, and that means interest rates are headed lower. On the US dollar side, we've got a little falling top there that's formed this week, but we also have rising bottoms, kind of a market that's in a little bit of a pennant pattern. I don't think you can read a lot into this, except that we probably will find some support next week around there, bounce back, and just continue into the tip of that pennant as volatility compresses. That has gold also moving sideways. You can see it's in a little bit of a pennant pattern there as well. The general trend remains up, but we've been sideways for basically 6 weeks now as the market builds a base. Now, what you want to watch for is either a break of support, which is that line right there. If we break down through that, that's a negative, or a break of resistance. If we break up through that part of the pattern, that is positive. And that's really all you got to do to try and predict where gold is going to go. Now, of course, oil has been weak for a number of months, but this week it's breaking that little pullback line. This is a weekly chart here. And I drew this one out for this week because that break of trend that came with the strength this week is a positive sign. I think oil can move back up to that mark, which was the highs of the spring for oil. And that also establishes a rising bottom for oil. And that's a good long-term turnaround chart. Now, this has to hold. As long as we hold these lows, we're in good shape. But I do like oil better this week than I did last week. Fear, very low, certainly trending sideways, but there's not a whole lot of fear going on in the market, which means investors are complacent, which is a situation ripe for a sharp correction. But until there is a breakdown in the market, you shouldn't worry too much about it. So US stocks bullish on both time frames. Same for Canadian. I have changed my gold rating on the short term to neutral from bullish, and I've upped my rating on oil from bearish to neutral. It does look like it's trying to make a base. Stocks continue to rise on very light summer volume. Weakness, anytime it happens, it really doesn't gather momentum. Any weakness we see is kind of a one-day wonder. Oil is starting to reverse that recent weakness from the past few months. Gold is trending sideways near term. Watch for a break out of that range that it has been in to telegraph the next leg of the trend. And as I said, fear remains low. That has been the Stock Scores Market Minutes. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like if you like the video. And please, we'll see you again next week. Trade well.